Welcome back. Two brothers have sustained horrific injuries after Israeli soldiers apparently detonated an explosive device at their refugee camp home. One of the men who's still in hospital shared his story with us.
The army came at around 6 a.m. while me and my family were asleep. The soldiers placed an explosive device at the door and blew it up. I woke up from the pain in my legs and found out that my brother was injured as well. That's what I remember. I was injured and then arrested while I was on the stretcher. I was in a coma for 18 days. I had surgery 9 times. They even wanted to amputate my leg. A month and a half later, my father visited me, and I didn't even recognize him at first. And then I slowly started to improve, but it's now been 3 months.
Mohammed's brother has been detained without trial, according to his family. Their father described to us the shock of seeing his injured sons and questions why it happened.
I came downstairs and found both my sons drowning in their blood, their legs shredded with pieces of flesh on the walls. Then the soldiers swarmed in. I couldn't handle seeing my children like this. It is brutal and inhuman. Why did they have to use this huge explosive device? Even our neighbors from 2 kilometers away heard the explosion. I was allowed to visit my sons in hospital a week later. They were in a serious condition. And then they arrested one of them without charge or trial. He was sent to prison. When I visited him, he was walking on crutches. He had platinum in his legs, replacing the bones, because his bones were shattered.
Israel says it was carrying out an anti-terror raid, seizing armed military operatives, weapons and ammunition. A statement describes the brothers as activists, adding Ahmad will be held in administrative detention until March. But the family of the Palestinian victims wants answers.
They treat every Palestinian as a threat, so we went to court because of the way the soldiers burst in. As for Ahmed, they said his case is classified and accuse him of being a member of the Islamic Jihad movement, even though there was nothing against him. He got 6 months in prison.
The Israeli army told me that I was injured by mistake. A mistake made by one of the soldiers who thought there was someone inside the house. So they decided to burst into the house in a brutal way, which none of us expected. After we were injured, the soldiers started arguing with each other about why it happened. When I reached hospital, they paid for everything. And when the lawyer arrived, he also said that the army acknowledges that it's their fault. Me and my brother were both hit because of a mistake, but he was arrested because he'd been arrested before.
Let's go live to Dr Reuven Berko now, an Israel Defense Forces Reserve officer. Thank you for joining us on the programme, Doctor. Now, how dangerous do you think such raids with weapons and bombs are when civilians are around?
First of all, thank you for having me with you today. And second, I would like to emphasize, as far as I read the IDF response, they didn't say that it was by a mistake. And I got deep into details, and I found out that this man who was arrested and his brother with him was an activist, a terrorist in Islamic Jihad movement. And he was acting and sharing a lot of planning and activities against the citizens of Israel. I can feel empathy towards the father and the family, but I must admit, I feel more empathy towards the citizens of Israel who are exposed to horrible terrorist activities that kill a lot of innocent people.
Okay,
I believe that even the Russians will do the same.
Are, of course, saying otherwise. But regardless of that, do you really think such rough tactics during raids are really necessary?
Yes, to judge from the studio what's necessary or not, you know, it is some kind of, I wouldn't say hypocrisy, but it's not professional. I can tell you and testify from the field that the army do not wake up in the morning, looking for what door to break into. They have intelligence. They deliberately went to that house precisely, and you know that the Palestinians deliberately hide beyond metal doors or human shield like women and children. For sure, just let me, no, please. What about me that I'm speaking to you now? You brought me to answer your question. I'm trying to do that. So I'm telling you that the army is not looking for occasional door to break in. They were calling them to open the door. Those brothers, one, the jihadi activist, refused to open the door. That's why the soldiers had to break into the door by force by this device. This device is not ordinary explosive device. It has the power to push the door in, and that's what they do. In order to exercise military maneuvers, they have a city, an artificial city near in the Negev. They can do it every single day. They did it because they had to take these activists into prison, and that's what they did in fact, and also confiscated weapons and materials.
One of the brothers told us that Israel admitted the raid was a mistake and even paid for the hospital bills. If so, if this is a mistake, how should they be compensated? And how common is such mistakes?
First of all, as far as I know, the army didn't say it was a mistake. Listen carefully. They say that the Israeli army admitted that it was a mistake. This is something very unique. So if they are right, they have all the rights to get to court, a just court in Israel, unlike any Arab environment, and complain and ask for compensations. But as far as I know, it was not a mistake. They went into a very specific terrorist house who refused to open the door. And that is the result. There was weapon, people shoot on each other. It was not a natural occasion. It was a typical military accident.
How common is it for innocent Palestinians to be injured by Israel?
I didn't make any research about how common, but I can tell you for sure that it's very common to any jihad Islamic activist to hurt deliberately innocent people in Israel. And the job of the Israeli army is not to count innocent Palestinian terrorists, is only to take care of our citizens and prevent any attempt to kill them deliberately, to kill innocent citizens in Israel. This is the mission of our IDF. We are not looking to hurt innocent people. We are not waking up in the morning and say, oh, it's a long time you haven't been in Jenin. It's time to break a door in Jenin. It's intelligence, a precise intelligence. We went there deliberately to find this special terrorist and to bring him into prison. That's what we did, and we'll proceed to do so. And I believe that any Russian citizen and any Russian leader would take care, first of all, on his citizen in Moscow, and even ban the city of Grozny to prevent any Islamists to get into Moscow and to hurt your citizens. It's natural. And you know better than myself that the Russian even bombed cities in Syria without asking these ridiculous questions.
Okay, that's all we have time for. Dr. Reuven Berko, Israel Defense Forces Reserve Officer, thank you for your time.